Hey everyone, Josh Veldman here, your host of the One Day or Day One podcast, the podcast where we interview individuals about their life transformation. We'll talk about where they were, where they've gone, and what it looked like along the journey. We appreciate you joining us, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to episode 4 of One Day or Day One podcast. Today I have Collin McCullick with me, and he is about to go on a very long journey. So I'm a little jealous, I'm not going to lie. I think this would be a blast to do. But he is going to kind of talk through and share with us, he's in this One Day or Day One journey right now where he said, one day I want to travel the country. And so what that looks like is going to be what we're talking about today, and kind of what led him to that decision. And he's working towards day one of hitting the road and, traveling the country. So thanks so much for tuning in. And with that, Collin, it's just, I don't even know where to begin, really. So you and your wife, which Emilia, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So whose idea was this to say, hey, let's just plan a long-term trip to travel the entire country? Like, whose idea was this, and how did this get started?
I think traveling the U.S. was my idea, but not the traveling idea in general. Traveling is probably our biggest shared hobby or passion. We both love it, and it honestly started probably back in 2019. We were talking about what kind of vacations we wanted to take in the future. When we got married, we talked about traveling internationally, once every 5 years or something like that.
Sure.
Depending on the anniversary, and sort of structuring it that way. And most of the places that we wanted to travel that were not in the U.S. were in Europe.
Okay.
And so at the end of 2019, we, at that point, had looked at buying a duplex to live in, renovating it and renting out the other half, or buying a house. And the market at that point was just going up. And it seems like values for duplexes in the area, or at least asking prices, were above what the value should have been. And it just financially didn't make sense. So we decided that since we didn't have any debt or kids or anything really tying us back, we would try and go travel Europe for a year.
Okay, so it wasn't even originally the U.S.
It wasn't even originally the U.S. The plan was to work remote and then just go live in Europe for a year. And
so from a work perspective, just before you get too far, so you currently own and operate your own IT company.
Yes.
Right? And so I'm assuming that was the plan all along, correct?
Yeah. So at that point, I was working for a different company.
Okay.
And then the goal would have been just to do remote work for them, doing IT, but living over there.
Sure.
And we had decided that with all the trips that we wanted to take to Europe, the biggest expense with all of that was flying back and forth. Mm-hmm. And so we figured we have to have living expenses no matter where we're living. We might as well cut out the travel expenses and just live over there because we want to see everything that's there anyways.
Right.
And obviously, everybody knows that was right before COVID took over. Mm-hmm. And that really kind of put a kibosh on our plans. And at that point, we decided, all right, we'll wait 6 months, see how it plays out. And at the end of the 6 months, is pretty close to when I started my business. Okay. And that was hoping with the same ability to be able to work remote and facilitate traveling, even if it was to Europe. And at that point, it was looking less and less like Europe was going to be an easy option for travel, just because there were so many restrictions and everything going on. And
you didn't know, like, when was it going to have the next variant, right?
And a variant would pop up,
and then now you can't travel back and forth, or
Yep. This country closes down or that country closes down, and the quarantines were a huge thing at that point. Yet you had to stay in this government designated hotel for 2 weeks if you come in the country, and it costs you $10,000.
Yeah.
Just not an easy, feasible option.
Especially when the whole point is to go and see landmarks and, and if that's all shut down, like,
yeah, so much stuff was messed up. So towards the end of 2020 is when we started reevaluating, saying, hey, it's looking like for the next few years, it's not going to be easy or realistically as feasible as we'd hoped to go travel Europe for this year length of time. And by the time we want to be kind of done with some of this traveling phase and settle down is about when it's going to be opening back up. So at that point, we talked about it, and I said, hey, well, instead of Europe, why don't we travel the U.S. for a year? You know, we're not crossing borders. We can kind of go anywhere in the country without any restrictions or problems coming up. So that's where we sort of pivoted to that being a plan. And then we looked at different options for that, whether we'd get a motorhome or a pull-behind camper or a fifth wheel. And we looked at a lot of the camping options. We decided we wanted to do a lot of boondocking. So camping out in the middle of nowhere, no hookups, just on public land.
So then then you have to have a very specific type of camper at that point, right?
To at least a self-sustaining one.
Right.
Yeah. You have to be able to carry enough, water and food and either solar power, batteries, generators, something like that to be able to run your electronics and et cetera off grid.
Yeah.
And with that, we decided a motorhome probably wasn't the best option because we want to be camping on, public land on a 2-track somewhere. The clearance of a motorhome is pretty low. They have a really long wheelbase, not good for going off-road.
Right.
So at that point, we decided a trailer is the way to go. And we originally talked about and planned on getting a bumper pull camper and an F-150 or a half-ton truck. And we actually bought a F-150.
Okay.
And we're looking at campers and through the process. And we just really couldn't find the camper we were looking for. My wife really didn't like what most of the bumper pull options were out there. Mm-hmm. There are a lot.
So hold on, what bump and pull? What is that? Is that
bumper pull? So like
bumper pull?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's the one that you just hook up to the hitch on the back of your truck.
Okay.
And then it looks like a normal camper. A
okay.
fifth wheel camper is the one that comes over the bed. And then
gotta have a fifth wheel hitch that's in the center of the truck. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And those are a lot heavier. Typically.
Yes. They're typically heavier and a lot larger, and you need a much bigger truck to pull them. At least as far as the ratings and stuff go, the smallest, like the very, very smallest fifth wheel campers, you could hook up to a half-ton truck, but you get anything like one size bigger, and you have to go up to a 3/4 ton or 1 ton.
And then you're just guzzling gas.
Correct. Yeah, or diesel. And,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of investment costs in getting a diesel truck.
Right.
So we started looking at the travel trailers or bumper pulls, and there wasn't a lot of the layouts that we really liked. And so towards the end of, I think by 2021 is where this was, we decided to change gears and go the fifth wheel.
Okay.
And so then really started looking into try and find a fifth wheel that was small enough that we could pull the F-150. And ultimately, Emilia decided she didn't want to be in something that small. So we sold the F-150 and we started looking for a 3/4 ton truck. And that was quite the process looking, we just looked all across the country to try and find something that was a decent deal.
Sure. Yep.
And
sorry, I'm going to pause you again. What is like the average cost of a fifth wheel? Like, I mean, you did all this research and it's probably different now than what it was just because prices are constantly changing. But like, what's the average cost of a fifth wheel?
It's such a huge, it's like asking what the average cost of a car is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's anything from, you can get something that's old and from the 90s, and that's a very different style than the current one. Or you could probably
just outdated.
$5 or $10,000. It's very old.
Oh, really? Okay.
You get something that's 10 years old, 5 years old, you're probably looking at 20 to 50 grand. And you get something brand, and obviously there's varying scales of
right. You've got some that are more luxury type.
Yeah, if you're looking at buying a brand new one, that's average or a little above average, you're probably, 60 to 80 grand. If you're looking nice, you can go up to 500,000. Wow. It's crazy, or more.
So that's the one you want, the 500,000 one?
No, I don't want that. That's too much. Way too bougie.
Yeah. You're not even camping.
I won't be able to break anything. I won't be able to do anything in it. I just feel terrible. No. So we started looking at trucks and fifth wheels at that point. And then we ended up finding a fifth wheel in, I don't remember if it was Western Illinois. I think it was Eastern Iowa.
Okay.
Is what we found. And so we hired an inspector to go out and look at it because it's a long drive away and don't want to spend the time to get over there. And that ended up falling through. And we ended up finding one from a private party in Illinois, which was pretty close. It was about a 3-hour drive. So we went down there and looked at that one in, I think it was late January, early February. And so we bought that one.
Okay.
And took it home. And then we started working on it later in the year.
Okay. So let's walk through that a minute. So what kind of stuff? Well, first of all, what's the average lifespan? Do you know the average lifespan of an RV?
Yeah, it depends on how well you take care of it. Most campgrounds, I don't say most. If a campground has a rule about age of a towable, it's or a motorhome, it's usually about, they set it at 10 years. If it's 10 years old or older, if they have a rule, they say we won't let it in.
Okay.
Now, if it's in nice condition, you send them pictures and stuff, they usually let you in, not a problem. But that's intended to keep out the degraded campers and stuff. Like you see, at least I do, a lot of pictures or even just going to campgrounds, if they don't have some sort of regulation like that, there's a lot of campers that'll just be sat there and they're there forever. The tires are flat and they got tarps over them and they're just,
and it's an
eyesore.
Yeah, it's not,
and it's just not super safe either, for everybody around. So yeah, I would say 10 years is probably the usable life of one, unless you're taking good care of it.
Right. I mean, not that you can't get longer, but I mean, they're not built like a house, right? I mean, you're going to get leaks and
they're built as quickly and as fast as as efficiently as they can.
Right. Plus, I mean, when you're towing things, you're hauling this down the road. I mean, there's the shifting and things are.
It's an earthquake every time you drive your house.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. An earthquake every time you drive it. Okay. So maybe you don't want to hit too many spots. You want to park it for a while, right?
Well, yeah.
But so what your plan is what? How long are you planning on doing this traveling for?
We'll see how it goes for the first year. And obviously if we super hate it, less than that. But if we're really enjoying it, we're planning on, 2 to 3 years and reevaluate at that point and see how it goes. But our goal is to travel around and see the whole country as much as we can. So when is this set to start? That's a continuously moving date.
It's a moving target. Okay.
And so every time we paint the target and go to hit it, something comes up and it moves a little bit further. But we're getting really close. We've spent the summer redoing the trailer.
Okay.
And our original goal, I say original, the previous hard set date was end of September. Okay. And so we're a little past that.
That's middle to end of October.
Middle of October.
Yeah.
And renovations took a lot longer than we planned on.
Okay.
So we decided that while the camper we bought was nice enough on the inside, it was in good shape for what it was. We bought it 2015.
Okay.
It just felt like a camper. And we decided we're going to be living
like a weekend getaway camper,
like
not
the inside of it
live
looks
in it
like a camper.
Yeah.
You've been in a camper, you know what it feels like. It's a temporary place and it's just kind of outdated. Feels a little bit cheap.
Right.
It's not great. I mean, it's really fun for a weekend, like a good time getaway, and they can be really nice, but there's still just the feeling about it it's a camper. Mm-hmm. And so we decided that we were going to at least give it a superficial renovation and give it a facelift and make it more like a tiny house on the inside.
Gotcha.
A lot more like home.
So new countertops, floors, paint the cabinets, maybe that kind of stuff.
So we took out everything that was easily unscrewed.
Okay.
And plus a little more, we took out the carpets, which was a huge pain.
Yeah, I bet.
There was
but it probably changed it quite a bit though, right? Did you do hard floor?
Huge. Yeah. Okay. So we took the carpets out. It's got 3 slides in it, 2 in the main living and then 1 up in the bedroom.
Okay.
And there was carpet in one of the slides in the living room and the slide in the bedroom, and the closet. And so we pulled all that carpet out, which is a huge undertaking because they build the campers with the flooring and everything first and then put the walls on. So the carpet goes across the flooring, wraps under it, and then is like stapled to it on the underside. Then they put the walls in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So to take the carpet out, pretty much the only option at that point is you have to go around the outside with a razor blade,
right?
Cut the carpet out, and then go back around the outside with the pliers and pull everything out that's on the edge,
Oh man.
which sucks.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. So that,
And then putting the new flooring in is
that was the
pain
worst
too.
part.
Yeah.
honestly, I would way rather put new flooring in than pull the carpet
Well,
out.
yeah,
It's so
that's
much
true.
worse.
Because you can kind of tuck the flooring underneath.
It
right?
sort of butts up to the walls, and then you just leave it there and it puts a little bit of trim to kind of cover
Yep.
the edges
There
of
you
it.
go. Yep.
But yeah, the flooring was a bit of work, but honestly, it wasn't terrible. Yeah, none of the renovation was super annoying, except for the painting was
Okay.
was a little bit little obnoxious.
So was this interior painting or
Yes.
exterior?
So interior painting. So we took the carpeting out, and then we unscrewed as much as we could. Took out the countertops, took out the stove, took out obviously like tables, chairs, that kind of stuff. Took all the cabinet doors out, and then we decided we're going to paint certain cabinets, leave other ones. So we took out the stuff that we were going to paint that was removable, and then taped and plasticed everything else. And then the idea was to use paint sprayer
Okay.
to just paint the whole thing and have it be really quick. It was going to be simple, just a little, and you're
But
done.
it didn't turn out that way?
It did not go that way at all.
Oh, no. Well, I imagine when you're using the spray gun, it works good, but I'm sure you have a lot of settling, right? Is it?
Yes.
So it probably took forever, or you got it all over everything?
Well, all of everything wasn't a problem because we had taped and plastic
Right,
literally
yeah.
everything that we were going to.
So as long as you did good
So it
job
wasn't a
with
big
your
deal.
prep work, yeah.
Correct. And so we did a lot of prep work. We sanded the walls. We did TSP on them to clean all the dirt and junk and grease and stuff off of them.
Yep.
And then hit it with a paint sprayer. And on the initial spray, it looks good. You turn around, spray the next wall. You look back at the first wall, and it just runs all over the thing.
Oh, no.
It's so bad. And
That was operator error then, right?
I don't know if it's entirely.
Well,
there definitely is some operator error in there.
But at the same time, though, too, like spraying that on that kind of material, because it's not drywall.
Correct.
So
I
it
think
probably
that's
doesn't.
the
You
biggest-
maybe almost
that was
had to
the
like
biggest problem.
sand it down to get it to have like a surface for it to
Because
hold to.
it's paneling, and then on top of paneling is it's a type of wallpaper.
Yeah.
And so the idea is you scrape up the wallpaper enough that it gets a good cling surface, and then you
it
paint
can-
on top of it,
yeah.
and it sticks to it. It should be fine.
Next time, just do wallpaper on it.
Yeah, that we
You-
were trying
I
to
mean-
get away from that as a whole.
Well, I know, but like, wouldn't that be an easier option?
Oh,
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know.
I,
If you got like a paint color,
we did do some wallpaper, so
Okay.
we'll get to that. It's not too bad, but it's a bit of a pain.
Okay.
So the spraying went terrible. The first coat was awful. I mean, I got the whole thing done, but then there were runs everywhere. We had to go back and sand off, and that took so much time. It was frustrating.
yeah. Well, and then the
And-
sanding, you get the dust everywhere, and that's a whole nother. Yeah.
Right. So we had to go back through and level out all the runs, and then just did one wall in the bedroom for a second coat attempt, and it just moved so fast to try and not get it to make runs.
Yeah.
And let that finish off, and it did pretty good. I think there was maybe like one run on the wall that at that time, and it wasn't terrible, but the coat was so thin to achieve that you would have had to do so many coats. It would
Right.
be ridiculous. So from there we pivoted and we tried rolling one of the walls, and that worked fantastically.
Okay.
So if you're ever going to redo a camper, don't
you
spray
go.
the walls, roll them.
Roll it.
It's so much
There's
better.
not that much wall surface, so
Yep. So we switched up and we rolled everything after that, and 2 coats later it was perfect.
there you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was the biggest heartache of doing it, was trying to save time by spraying it and realizing it just has to be rolled.
Yeah.
Bought a big chunk. It's like 5x7 butcher block tabletop off of I think it's from an old, like they used to make them for schools or something like that.
Okay.
It was just leftover piece, and then cut that into an island and a couple countertops for next to the stove to put that in, and found a undermount sink to put in there. That was a good process. It's really hard to find a smallish undermount sink that's black that your wife approves of.
Oh, really?
You wouldn't know it, but
Well,
it's a really
it was
rare
hard
thing to find.
It was already a difficult, and then you said that your wife approves, and then it went from nearly impossible.
That's where it just gets thrown out.
Nearly impossible at that point. Yeah.
So yeah, we get new countertops, got everything painted up. Took out when we bought it, the people before us had actually bought it to full time in, And
really?
They had put a, it's like a composite countertop kind of thing in the back where the couch used to be.
Okay.
And it was pretty industrial looking. So we took that out, put a couch back in the back where it goes, and then put a desk for me in one of the side slide outs. And then I'm going to get like a big curved monitor to have just a single one, because there's not a lot of space to mount two of them. But if I get one extra large one,
Plus then your
pretty good
laptop screen will help too.
Right.
So, okay.
Yeah. So we got all of that done, and now we just finished up doing the backsplash. We ended up doing like 3/4 inch square mother of pearl.
Okay.
The whole backsplash to go with it, and then there's we painted the main interior. It's like a cream white, and then the accent is almost a foresty or jungly green.
Okay.
So like the TV cabinet's that color, and the backsplash and the stairs and the island.
So what I'm going to need to do is, so we have a handful of individuals that are just going to be listening to this on different platforms. And then we're going to have an actual video part of this on Spotify, or no, take that out, on YouTube. So I'm going to have to include somewhere, like I'm going to need like a walkthrough or photos of, like, do you have a before and after?
We have a before, we don't have an after yet because we're not done.
Because you're not done yet. Okay.
Yep. But I've got some middle.
So I need you to finish that up in like
we're so
10
close to
days.
being done.
Like 10 days.
We honestly, we might actually be. We just finished wallpapering the bathroom. That's where the wallpaper comes in.
Yep.
So the whole camper is relatively subtle. It looks like a normal house.
Yeah.
Essentially, but really small, and with good cream and some green accenting and stuff. And then the bathroom is Emilia's crazy space. We'll just call it. it's.
Do you want me to cut that word out?
Oh no, that's fine. You can leave that. I think she had a word for it, but it's
crazy space.
It's the crazy
good.
part of the trailer, because it's wallpapered in black wallpaper with it almost looks like honeysuckle buds.
Okay.
On it.
Yeah.
That are like light pinkish, and then it's got mixed in like green leaves, and I don't even know if it's like bunches of grapes or something in there too.
So you didn't pick it out.
So it's wild. Nope.
Okay.
She picked it out. She loves it. It looks really cool.
Yeah. But it's just one of those like, hey, let's have fun with this room and let's just do something different.
We're on a lot of Facebook pages for full-time RV groups and like RV renovations and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a thing right now, is to have the normal nice camper, and then to have a sort of a wild bathroom.
Really?
To have
so there's a whole RV space. Community that have a whole wild bathroom thing.
Yes.
That is, wow. I live under a rock. Like, just
you never would have thought until you get into some of these forums and everybody's got their renovations, and pictures and stuff.
Okay, so I actually did. So Steph and I talked about potentially renting our house out for like a year.
Yep.
And traveling, and we want to go out west. So like this whole topic is partially why I have you on the podcast, is because we actually talked about it, and I think it'd be fun. I told her, like half kidding, I said, hey, if you ever wanted to do this, I'd totally do it. And then for I don't know, like a good week and a half, we actually talked a lot about it, and she was like 75-80% on board.
That's pretty good.
And I'm like, dang, at that point, like this is happening.
That's close.
And we would have waited until probably summer, wait for the kids to be out of school for the year. And then, we'd homeschool or road school, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
So,
well, you're still, your camper becomes your home at that point.
Yeah.
It's still kind of
homeschool, road school, whatever. And then, school. And then we started talking to our parents about it. Like, hey, by the way, we're going to do this crazy thing, or we're talking about this crazy thing.
Yeah.
And then it got a little bit real, and the wife's no longer on board. That's all I'll say. So
we were blessed. Our parents were very supportive.
Yeah, so. I could still go. She told me I could go. Like, fine, you go. I'm like, well, I don't think I'm going to leave y'all here. So, yeah. But no, it's actually a very interesting thing that you say that community, because I had a couple, like I just search on TikTok, right? Okay, TikTok, I know, whatever. I know I'm in my 30s and I'm on TikTok. But anyway, so I'm on TikTok, and you can search, and there's like 15 or plus more families that are posting all the time about their travel. And then they show you like, look at this view. that, and like there's somebody boondocking on a beach. It's like, oh, that'd be so cool. And I can work remote. Like, let's go. But we're not going.
Maybe you'll get there yet.
If I can convince her, I'd be the salesman of the year. So, and I'm not saying I'm not a good salesperson, but I just pick and choose my battles, and I don't think it's one that I'm going to end up winning. So
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyway, so yeah, there is a community.
There is,
yeah.
It's
So
pretty big.
Are you? So when you hit the road, are you going to meet up with anybody, or is it like, no, we're just going to do our thing?
We don't. I say no anybody. Emilia has one friend that is or was RVing full time, but I think they just bought a plot of land to settle down on.
Okay.
So as far as I know, I don't know anybody that's currently doing it, so we don't have any plans to meet up with anybody. It's just going to kind of be us.
When we leave, if you talk to my wife,
you could be our family. We could meet up with you.
You'd have to wait till like the summer, so you'll already have like a couple months, unless you keep pushing your date back. But yeah.
So yeah, there is a Facebook group that we're a part of. That's I think it's full timers under 30.
Okay.
That the goal.
I wouldn't be on that one.
That's it's liberally under 30.
Okay.
And the goal of that group is just to connect full timers and have them meet up and meet new people doing the same kind of thing. So we'll get involved in that a little more as we start traveling and meet up with some people.
You probably don't want to start with that though either. You kind of want to.
I think we'll ease into it a little bit and enjoy going through the learning process and the startup process on our own.
Yep.
We've already started some of that. We moved into the camper full time in August.
Okay.
And so we've been in it for 2 months now.
Yep.
Which has gone pretty well. Glad that we started doing it here, which was the goal. My parents have a large pole barn that we parked it in for the summer that we were renovating.
Yep.
In the pole barn. And
so you're living in it and renovating it.
A little bit, yeah. Wow. So we did complete all of the major renovations to get it livable before we moved in August. Okay. And then we moved into it in a campground 2 miles from my parents' house.
Okay.
So it was right around the corner.
Baldwin Oaks, right?
All the tools. No, actually it was Chapel in the Pines.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep. So
I'm like, there's two in Hudsonville that I know of. So yeah, there's a good chance.
Yeah. And so the goal of that was to kind of get the kinks out, break everything that was going to break on the first run, and also be really close to home where it's really easy to fix things yet.
Right.
So that worked out well. We did break a few things. Our power converter went out, I think, the first week, which is what converts the AC power to DC, which is what runs all of our lights and a lot of the appliances and stuff.
So how does that break? Is it was old?
It just died.
Okay.
Huh. Just
you had too many computer monitors hooked up on it or something?
Not even. Yeah, I got home one night to go to bed and the refrigerator was beeping at me. I was like, that's kind of weird. I don't know. It usually only beeps if the power's off. But the lights and stuff still work. So I thought it was odd. Checked out the fuses and stuff. Couldn't figure it out. So I just shut the power to the fridge off for the night and went to bed. Got back up the next morning. And as we were getting ready in the morning, the lights just slowly got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. It's like, it seems like it's a problem with the battery. What's the power problem here? So checking the batteries, yep, sure enough, they were pretty much dead, and went and checked on the power converter, and it just wasn't charging the batteries anymore.
Gotcha.
So we grabbed a car battery charger from home to limp us through for a few days and got a new power converter on order. Okay. And got that installed. But yeah, that was
because if you're on the road, break. Where did you have that shipped? Like, where do you go to get that?
If you're ordering like Amazon, you can ship to Amazon lockers. So those are kind of around the country. A lot of stores and stuff have them.
So you could ship to like Walmart or something,
or CVS or something. They've got lockers in them. Or if you're ordering things and you need to ship to like an actual address, usually you can just ship it to a post office, and the post office will hold you to pick it up.
Gotcha. Huh.
Yeah. So
like, what do you do for mail? Like if you've got mail, that like, where's your home address? Like, do you even have a home address? Yeah.
So our home address is currently set to our parents' house, or my parents' house, and we'll just leave it as that while we're traveling, so that we've got a legal home address to send all documents and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And we'll just have them over.
So that's nice. So, but if somebody doesn't have like family back, well, I guess home is wherever you make it now, but like, yeah, that's an element I would have to think about. Like, how does that,
There are services for that. So you sign up with a service, and they'll give you a permanent address you can have as your home. And I think there's a couple different states you can pick from. and then they'll collect your mail, and you just tell them where to forward it all to as it gets sent to your address.
Gotcha. Huh.
There's ways around it.
Yeah.
There's enough
yeah.
people doing this
I mean,
now that it's kind of an industry.
And that's just it. I mean, the idea of this now, knowing that there's quite a few people that do it, it's really not all that. It's not all that out there. And honestly, here's what I'll say too. Like, I'm in the mortgage industry. I'm trying to help people buy houses. Houses are expensive and interest rates are higher now.
Yep.
And the amount of a mortgage payment is getting kind of stupid, right? I mean, if I'm going to be honest, it's stupid. But if you have an RV, I mean, they're still expenses. I mean, you have the cost of the lot, which you might be $2,000 a month, depending on the type of places you can.
Yeah,
unless you
someplace
unless
really
you
nice,
boondock,
really
right?
expensive.
If you boondock, there's no cost. You're just literally on land.
Yep. And there are restrictions depending on where you're at. You know, you can only stay in a certain piece of land for 14 days. You know, if you're in a Bureau of Land Management property out west, that's, you know, 1 million acres. You can only stay in that 1 million acres for 2 weeks, and you got to move somewhere else for like a week worth of period. Something. So you can't like permanently live in one space all the time.
But like, is anybody really regulating that? I mean,
yeah, I mean,
if you go 100 miles down the road and you're still in the same million,
yeah,
like
that's kind of like in the air. And I'm sure there's people out there that patrol it somewhat, and I mean, I think it'd be pretty obvious you're in the same spot.
But a million acres?
I don't know, I'm making stuff up.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like, dang, that's you gotta drive around the country like 6 times, and then now you're more than that. I don't know, because I mean, it's like
it's probably like
a million acres. It's not miles, but yeah, it's I don't know. 1 million acres is probably
it's a little exaggeration.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to think like what 1 million acres is now. You got me intrigued on that.
I think it's 600 acres in a square mile. So,
okay. So that's really not that's not as much. So it's like, oh gosh, I don't know, 200 miles? No, because that'd only be 1,200. Hey Siri, do you have a smartphone?
Yeah.
Google how many miles in 1 million acres?
Let's see, that's 1 million acres.
This is
1,562 square miles.
Okay, so that was
1,562 square miles is 1 million acres. That's a lot.
Michigan down to Florida.
It's only like a third of the country. Quarter of the country.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, so not actually a million.
Not actually a million. It's probably more like 1,000.
All right. Yeah, I was talking about how it's stupid expensive for mortgages. So have you done research to see like what the average cost? And I know it's going to vary depending on if you're boondocking or if you're not, or if you're going to bougie campsites, or if you're going to, you know, lower end ones. But like, have you kind of gotten a sense of like what an average cost of living would be on the road?
Yeah, I would say if you're in a, I don't know, middling cost, you're probably looking at $500 to $800 or $1,000 a month if you're just booking a campsite.
That's just for the
campsite.
The campsite, right?
Yep. And then on top, I mean, your food costs don't really change. That just varies by whatever your local market is that you're in.
And your water and electricity is included in that, unless of course
Generally, yeah, water is included. Depending on the park, the lower rent ones, sometimes they charge you electric on top.
Oh, really? Well, it's part of your lot cost. It's not like a monthly, like.
No, yeah. So if you're booking by the month, some of the campgrounds charge you electric separate from what your monthly lot cost is. So you'd pay $500 a month for the lot, and then you're paying electric on top of that.
Gotcha. So whatever it ends up being,
$150 because campers are very inefficient when it comes to storing heat.
Yeah, that's true.
Or cold, either one.
Right.
Air conditioners cost a lot to run.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot of insulation in those either. So
we have a 4-season model, and it's really 4-season models are probably like a 3-season model, because
what season?
At least in the north half of the country where we get snow, the freezy season is not great for campers. They're really not designed to live in freezing weather in them. They're designed for vacationing in the summer, or the spring
Right.
or fall, where your coldest is like 50 degrees or
Right.
something like that.
So are you going to avoid cold temperature areas?
Yes, my goal is
I would.
to live where it gets maybe 45 degrees at the lowest
At night.
at nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, throughout the year. So
And you can have a fire, feel
Yeah,
comfortable.
exactly.
It's
so
not,
it's like living in fall weather at the worst, or maybe spring weather,
yeah,
and then just kind of stay at least on that skirt, and then as it warms up, move north.
right. Well, I can tell you from experience. So when I go up north to go deer hunting,
Yeah.
my dad has a fifth wheel that he pulls. It's got an electric setup. It's got a septic tank. So he hooks it up for deer hunting season. During the summer, it's parked by the cottage, and like nobody really uses it then. So it's deer camp, and it's old. Okay. When we get up to deer camp, the heat's not on it. So, and there's snow on the ground. So when we go to heat that sucker up, like it takes all night. So we have a space heater.
Yep.
I think for sure in the living room, and then it's a fifth wheel, so he's got the upper section, and I think we have to do a space heater up there, and the heat's running. Well, one time I went up there, we couldn't get the heat going. So my brother had to like take all this stuff apart. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. Like he figured it out. He knows how to do all this stuff, and we ended up getting it going. But that was 3 hours into it. It was already towards the evening. And it's like 28 degrees out. It was awful, but it eventually warmed up. But the second you open the door, all of it's gone, and it's like 20 minutes to get right back to where it was. Oh man. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to go where it's warm.
That's the goal.
But if it's too warm, yeah, it's the same thing with then
you're dealing with
air
air conditioning, and you got to keep the reflective material in the windows to keep the sun out,
keep it cooler, and yeah. So it has its downfalls.
It has its limits.
But at the end of the day, like, you get to go travel and see. So, okay. So give us a bucket list. Where are like 5 places you're 100% absolutely hands down you're going to see?
We really honestly haven't gone through and picked specific bucket list places. Like I said, we both really like to travel, so we've both been to a lot of places, and we're looking forward to hitting a lot of those again. We want to hit as many national parks as we can. We are both nature enthusiasts and love hiking, backpacking, camping. Kind of have to love camping to go live in a camper all the time. Even though Emily says it's not camping because it's
home.
It's too bougie. It's gonna be our home.
Yeah,
so that doesn't count. So we'll also be bringing backpacks and a tent, so that if we want to actually go deep into the woods somewhere, we can go do that. But yeah, so we're looking to hit as many of the national and state parks as we can to check out all the natural wonders that are out there. We enjoy going to like historical districts and seeing that kind of stuff. So I would say, okay, one of the things on the bucket list is going to be Charlotte. What is that? South Carolina.
Okay. Yeah, it could be. You could be wrong, and I wouldn't know. But
I think it's South Carolina.
It's either South or North.
Terrible. Yeah, I don't remember.
I thought it was Charlotte, North Carolina.
It might be North Carolina.
It might be.
It's on Emily's bucket list, not mine.
Okay. Charlotte and one of the Carolinas.
Yep. So Emily really wants to go there. She thinks it's beautiful, and that'll definitely be on her hit list. And other than that, we just kind of want to see everything. I bought Emily for Christmas, I think it was last year, a book of, it's like 1,000 things to do in the United States or something like that. And it breaks it all down by state.
Okay.
And so we've got a huge list of all the major natural things to do in a state, like the historical things to do, check out like these different attractions in the cities.
Or nature, we're hiking, like, Yep.
So we're planning on doing it for so long. We're kind of planning to tackle it just state by state as we go, and say, okay, we've been here, we've kind of seen what there is to see in this state, at least as far as what we've been interested in. Let's move on to the next state, and then we'll research and see what's in that state to go do and seeing that kind of stuff. So we're sort of planning on to more methodically cover the country and see everything there is to see, as opposed to just bouncing around and hitting specific hot spots in certain places.
Right. Well, and if you can handle it, and like you don't hate it after a month or two, right?
Correct.
Then you're in for the long haul. Then you don't have to rush to do it.
Right. Which when we were originally talking about doing this, we talked about just doing it for a year, like we were talking about doing for Europe, and then thought it through and thought, there's about as many states as there are weeks in the year, which gives us about 1 week to do per state on top of working full time.
Right.
That's not a lot of time.
No, sorry, my stomach's over here
That's
growling.
So-
one week
To do everything in a state
that's
while
a lot.
working.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to push it out and do a few years.
Yep.
So that way we can spend a couple of weeks in each state. And obviously it's going to vary a little bit based on the state.
Right.
You've got Texas
Multiple-
versus Rhode Island.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's-
Multiple things to see. And I mean, it's not like you're not on vacation. You're still working.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your documentation when you're on this trip.
Yep.
Okay. Or when you're living on the road, I guess is what I should call it. So do you already have like a YouTube channel, a blog? Like, do you have that stuff already set up? Because you're going to do it, right?
That is the
I mean,
plan.
you don't travel the country in an RV and not document it, right?
Yeah. So we are planning on setting up an Instagram page and a YouTube, but Emilia has not thought of any approved handles for either of those yet.
Okay.
So we got to.
So I
I got to
can't
think of a
give
name
that
for our
to my
channel, so we can't give
listeners
that.
yet.
Maybe by the end of the next 10 days, I'll be able to get it out to you. You can throw it in
Okay.
text or something.
And then we'll throw it in the link.
Yeah, you can put that in with the little video, the before and after.
There you go. See, because you got to have a following.
That's
if you don't have a following, then what did it even happen? So, I mean, it did, but
Yeah. So we are planning to document it and start the YouTube channel as much for ourselves as for family and friends or anybody else, just so we have a record of what we did and we can look back on it and see the sites that we've seen already and remember them. And also just to share with family and friends back home so they can kind of follow along with our travels. We don't have to text everybody 1,000 pictures in a day and
right.
annoy the family group chat kind of thing.
Right.
They just go to the YouTube channel and look at our videos that they
Go
want to.
watch it. If you want to know, just look there.
It's going to be a crazy adventure. We're planning on just working remote as we go and kind of just living life as it comes at us. We're not planning on making a huge itinerary for this thing. We're just going to go out and do it.
Yeah. I'm jealous.